All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Board of Commissioners meeting, Tuesday, July 2nd. I'll call this meeting to order. Tonight, we have got some special guests again from the Angier Black River Fire Department. Hunter Smith and George Miser will be delivering us in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation. You guys would like to join us up here? But George, if you have an announcement, we'll hear that first.
Yes, sir. Yep.
While we're all captivated.
So real quick, National Night Out across the United States is held August 6th, which is a Tuesday night. Chief Thompson made a command decision. We moved it to Thursday night to allow for our commissioners and our town leadership to come to the event. So it will be Thursday, August the 8th from 5 till 8 at Jack Marley Park. Everything is free. We welcome everybody, and it's going to be a great time. Good education time.
Thank you.
All right, if everybody would join me, stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you join me in prayer, dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening. We thank you mostly for our town leadership, and we ask that you guide them and give them your wisdom. We thank you for everything you've bestowed upon us, for the time we get to spend together, but mostly for the fellowship that we enjoy in the town of Angier. We thank you for everything that is coming down the road that you've already laid in place. We ask you to guide us, watch over us, keep us safe always. And most of all, Lord, we thank you for your grace. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, guys. All right, we've all received copies of the agenda. Does anyone have any modifications to the agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve it.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as written.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous? All right. Since it's the first meeting of the month, we're going to do public comment. For public comment, anyone may speak on any issue. If you want to speak at the public hearing, please wait till the public hearing has been opened. We don't have one of those tonight. So before speaking, please state your name and address. And we ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes so we can keep the meeting moving at a good pace. Generally speaking, the board will not respond to comments at the time of your comment, but we may direct you to town staff if we feel that's necessary. Tonight, we have had 2 people sign up. Let's start with Cassandra Mabry.
All right, my name is Cassandra Mabry. My address is 6395 NC 55 West. I believe some of you have already been made aware of the unfortunate situation my family and I have been having to deal with, but allow me to elaborate for anyone who hasn't heard yet. We live at the other end of that new subdivision development going in off of 55 behind the Pope and Pope Law Office. In April, as we were going through our house being put on our property, we became aware of an issue with water runoff. The development had their water directed onto our property, causing a huge section of unusable and unhealthy soil that was previously healthy and usable by the soil scientist report that I also have from earlier. This required us to change our septic plan to install a curtain drain on the side of our property to protect our septic field from this additional water runoff from the development going in. I got in contact with both Wellens, the contracting company doing the work, and Meritage Homes, which is the developer of the land. We met for me to show and explain to them the issue we were having with the runoff and to request them to reimburse us for the additional costs we now had to incur directly related to this newfound water issue. The project manager, Tristan Newth, I met with, chose to deny that there was an issue, thus no solution to fixing the problem. I next reached out to the town manager, Elizabeth Krieg, to tell her about the problems in hope of a solution being reached. She was able to put me in contact with the Brandon Johnson to discuss the issue with him, and then he, along with the town engineer, came out to see what the issue was. They agreed that there was in fact an issue, and they left saying they were going to come up with a plan to give the developer to fix it. The development was being required to dig a swell to prevent water from off-putting onto our property, as well as regrade the ditch that is in front of our house because of massive erosion happening related to their water runoff. This all happened between April and May. It's now July, and the development has done nothing so far to fix this issue. With the typical North Carolina summer thunderstorm we just had over the weekend, the problem is now much worse. The inspector for the Department of Environmental Quality came out today, right before this actually, and expressed that previous issues have still been uncorrected, with additional issues now becoming apparent on their end. There was a massive amount of water being directed away from the subdivision onto our property, causing flooding in both our entire front and backyards, the driveway, the road, and 3 of our neighbors' yards, as the pictures show. This left us with a water pipe partially exposed, electrical lines no longer buried, all of the backfill around our house washed away, and long trenches of erosion everywhere. To fix the damage the development has caused us, our entire property needs to be regraded, which means our fence has to be taken down for this work to be done and then be reinstalled. Our house needs to be completely backfilled again. The developer is still trying to say that this isn't an issue because their original plans were approved and they aren't responsible, despite the numerous pictures and videos I have tracing the water runoff directly from their property and onto mine. The project manager has even tried to say that their water runs uphill 55 and in the opposite direction, which both is not possible, and has been proven otherwise in pictures, videos, and previous inspections. The town manager and the Public Works Department is requiring them to fix what they have told them is wrong before any additional permits or inspections are issued, and the Department of Environmental Quality Inspector is writing a formal report with both the previous and the newfound issues and giving the development a 2-week time frame to meet code before further action is taken on their part. What I'm asking for is not unreasonable. I just want the problem fixed so it doesn't continue to cause more damage, and I want the developer to have to reimburse us for both the inclusion of the curtain drain we had to have to protect our septic field and to pay for all of the damage that's been done on our property thus far. I'm here to make you both aware of all the issues at hand and ask for your continued help in both getting this issue fixed and future help in getting the damage that's already been done fixed as well. And I've passed all the pictures that show all of that, and I have any additional documentation that you need. You can get up with me. I have all the receipts. So thank you.
Thank you very much for bringing that up here to us. Next, we have Arlene Mabry.
Hi, my name is Arlene Mabry. I live at 6363 NC Highway 55 West. I am right next door to Cassandra. She is my daughter-in-law, so she has done an excellent job of presenting the information to you. So what she has done is great. I just basically want to be here to support as a follow-up to what she has talked about. The flooding issues have increased greatly with the development of the subdivision. The water is just streaming down as you through the videos that she will be able to provide you. There's another issue too that I noticed during the rainstorm over the weekend, and the ponding and the flooding is also affecting 55. I was watching cars coming down 55 heading toward Coates, and the water pooled on the road so much that the water literally was coming over top of the cars. And the cars coming up, like coming into Anger, were having to stop quickly because of the flooding. So there is a significant traffic hazard that is being created by all of this, along with the damage that Cassandra has noted. My fear is that there will be a wreck. There will be a head-on collision. There will be a car that will end up in someone's yard, and possibly in someone's home. Cassandra's home is close to 55 right now, so her home is like almost in that area. So this is an issue that has affected me, as she has noted. It has affected others in our neighborhood, affected her and her husband and her family greatly, and it's also becoming a traffic and a community issue too. So it is something that needs to be looked at, strongly addressed, and strongly taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you guys for bringing that up to us tonight. All right, are there any other public comments that maybe have not signed up? If not, we'll move on to consent agenda. Let's go ahead and get the approval of the minutes out of the way. Just go ahead and do that. Because there's a proclamation in there too, and we can't vote on that, or do we?
consent, but if you want to have a presentation on it, I think you.
We do have a presentation. Let's go ahead and approve it, and then we'll do the presentation. Is there any discussion about the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve it.
I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. That's unanimous. On our consent agenda tonight, we have a proclamation in honor of Apostle S.L. Carney Sr., who's a former town commissioner that passed away recently. So at this time, Ms. Hawley and I will come up front, and if there's a representative of the family that'd like to join us, it would be my honor to present this to them. Can you guys hear me? I have with me a proclamation honoring Apostle Stanley L. Carney Sr. Whereas, on behalf of the town of Anger, we wish to extend our sincere condolences over the passing of Apostle Stanley L. Carney Sr. And whereas Apostle S.L. Carney Sr.'s death leaves our community with a deep feeling of sorrow for the loss of such an honored and respected citizen. And whereas Apostle S.L. Carney Sr. served his community in various capacities, too numerous to list, but which would include a community leader and mentor. And whereas Apostle S.L. Carney Sr. served as the first African-American town commissioner from 2005 until 2010, and as mayor pro tem from 2007 to 2010. And whereas Apostle S.L. Carney Sr. served as a devoted pastor for 45 years for several houses of worship, beginning in St. Paul at 2 locations in Richland, North Carolina, First Free Will Baptist Church in Holly Springs, North Carolina, Cutts Chapel Free Will Baptist in Anger, North Carolina, and culminated at Deliverance Church International in Anger, North Carolina. And whereas Apostle S.L. Carney Sr. was presiding prelate and president of Deliverance Churches International, where many spiritual leaders were affirmed and mentored. And whereas Apostle S.L. Carney Sr. was a celebrated author of 8 books with 2 yet to be published. Now, therefore, I, Robert M. Usness Sr., Mayor of the town of Anger, along with the Anger Board of Commissioners, recognize Apostle S.L. Carney Sr.'s many contributions to the town and its citizens. We hereby express our deep appreciation for his dedication to the progress of this community and extend to his family our sincere sympathy upon his passing. I'd love to present this to you tonight.
Thank you.
Ms. Hawley has joined us up here tonight. We did a mourning ribbon ceremony privately with the family and past board commissioners a week or 2 ago. She has presented this to the family. This is the flag that we flew at that time with the ribbons, and inside the box are the mourning ribbons as well. So we would love for the family to hold on to this, and we thank them very much for being part of him. Thank you. Thank you. All right, I'll let you go.
On behalf of the Carney family and the DCI church family, we want to thank the town of Anger. Thank you, thank you, thank you, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
God bless you.
Thank you, guys. Do you want to take a picture?
Yes.
Why don't we kind of scoot, so with the flags and then this way, right here. Okay, everyone ready? Yeah, Ashley and Jim, y'all scoot in too. Okay. Yes. All right, 1, 2, 3.
Stay there.
We thank the family very much for letting us do these. Yeah, that'd be great. Here, please.
So thank you so much again for this great commendation. I spoke to Mom Carney a few minutes ago, and immediately at the passing of Apostle Carney, and I got to say this, between me and Mother Addie McCoy, Willa and Brother until a week ago, all our lives, calling and asking for this commendation and this acknowledgement. And she's traveling a very needed getaway, obviously, for what's going on. But she made sure that others were represented. You have the church here. This is his sister, if y'all are not aware, who received his son was supposed to come, but the brother-in-law's here, and there are other church family, deacons, ministers of the church. If you're from the church, stand real quickly so they can just know who you are. I want to make sure I do this. Thank you. And many of us still are related, but this is, thank you very much, church family. His immediate family, this is his sister, his brother-in-law back there looking at us. That's him. And then her, Prophetess Sandra's son and daughter, both are here, Ariel and Stephen. And we just wanted to again thank you for allowing this to take place. Again, I believe this helps the heal. And to continue to be progressive for what this town of Andrew will see. Mama LaRue and all of you, including you, Chevelle, thank you for all of the attention. And certainly this has been a worthwhile occasion. Thank you very much.
Of course. And I'll say, too, Miss Hawley is the one really who, when we first heard of this, really ran with this to make sure that we did everything we could to recognize and honor his service to our town and to his community. And so thank you guys for letting us do this. It was an honor of ours to be able to do this. So thank you guys.
Excuse me, there are those who did ask because they're just coming from work. Do we stay? Do we leave? We don't want to interrupt. That's up to you. Okay. All right. If not, I'll keep you guys on. I live down the street. I'll stay a minute.
They make me stay. I can't leave.
Thank you for coming. Be safe going
Thank
home.
you, guys.
Happy 4th.
Glad to come a little more. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys. If you're not in the room with us right now, we're going to give them a moment to clear out so we can refocus. All right. Let us move on to new business. Elizabeth, you're up first with a facility rental policy agreement.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. Before you is slight changes to the Town of Angier facility rental policy. This is to recognize that the depot and the Ellington Grounds and Gazebo and the Pavilion Stage are separate facilities to be rented by the town. It also updates the cost of the baseball fields and the picnic shelters with the fee schedule that you approved with the budget a few weeks ago. And it also adds, as well as the change to the large event road closure fee that you passed in the fee schedule. So most everything else is still the same. It's just clarification on the different facilities and updating the fees as you passed them a few weeks ago.
Thank you. So just to reiterate, most of this stuff was in the budget that we approved, and so this is just a formality to amend this document. If you didn't know before, in the past, the depot building and the depot grounds and the stage were rented out as a package deal, which quite often somebody did not need all three of those things. And if somebody used the depot, then the rest of it was off limits. So I'm glad that we have divided those up into separate rentals. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Krieg about this?
I just got one question.
Okay.
I just noticed for Jack Marley Park, for the picnic shelter, the 3-hour increments, is that for 3 hours that cost, or is it
Okay, so it is
15 for 3
so
hours?
it's 3 hours and that costs $15.
Gotcha.
Yes.
The question I have is about the cancellation with the 14-day notice. I had a constituent ask me, what about if there was like a death, an unexpected death in the family? Would that be taken into consideration, or would they lose all the money?
I think that would be taken into consideration. There
Okay.
is a clause that says clarification can be decided by the town manager. So,
Right, I just wanted it on record.
okay, so I probably would consult with you all and then make my decision.
Okay, thank you.
Fine, it's a good thing to point out. We're not trying to make money off canceled things, but we try to keep the calendar as updated.
Right.
All right. If there are no other questions or discussion, then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the facility rental policies presented.
All right. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Elizabeth, you have the next one. There's a traffic calming proposal.
Okay. Part of our strategic plan, we talked about residential growth, and one of those items that was identified at the community forum was concern about traffic. And obviously, some of the roads in town are North Carolina DOT roads. We don't control those. There's been several citizens who have contacted either me or the street department asking about speed bumps. And so before we adopted any kind of a policy, I wanted engineering experts to tell us, because there are other measures besides speed bumps. There are speed tables, there's narrowing of the streets, there's improved intersections, adding stop signs, those type of things. So this proposal before you is to allow one of our on-call engineering firms to do a study, Broad Street, the downtown block of north of Depot, south of Depot, and the proximity of Church Street. This is not something that the board has to approve, but I thought that based on conversations and concerns that have been raised by citizens, is something that you might want to consider.
Thank you for bringing that up. I know that I have been one of the people that mentioned to you that we hear a lot of citizen concerns about mostly speeding through the neighborhoods, primarily at rush hour. I mean, a lot of us experience that firsthand. So I did bring that to you. And so this is basically the first step in what may or may not become some kind of traffic calming measure.
Yes.
As I'll often do, I've called the other board members throughout the day today, just kind of discuss the agenda. And there was a question raised of whether or not this was the right time to start that,
Okay.
because the bypass is under construction. Do you know when they expect to finish?
So they can do their study and submit the report to you within 9 to 10 weeks.
Okay. So we could get the study within 9 to 10 weeks. Do you, and you might not know this, but I'll ask you anyway. Do you have any idea what the proposed schedule is for the bypass?
It's supposed to be completed in 2028.
2028. Okay.
Yes.
So some of us are, and myself included, are considering whether or not this investment, the investment we're looking at to approve tonight is $9,000, which is just the first bit in progress towards getting some of these traffic
It would
control
tell
devices.
us what we need to do, and some of those measures might be as cheap as putting up a stop sign, and
Okay.
some of them might be as expensive as installing speed tables, and I don't know how much a speed table is, but probably
I don't either. I'll get on
$1,000.
Temu and see.
You go on Temu? Yeah, that's a great place to get one. It'll probably last 2 hours.
So we still wanted to discuss it tonight, so we could talk about it. But some of us are wondering if this is something we should approve now or wait until the bypass is done, because when the bypass is done, the results of the study now might be largely irrelevant then. The bypass, we hope and expect, will take a lot of our through town traffic at rush hour around town. Whether or not that actually happens, anybody's guess, but that's the goal. So I just wanted to say that tonight, why there is some hesitation. Because I have come to you many times asking for speed bumps. People come to me, I ask for them too, but even I can see how we might consider waiting on this one. I don't know, so we're going to talk about it tonight.
Do you need me to remain here, or do you want me to have a seat? Or
We might have a couple questions for you.
okay.
Does anybody have any questions for her while she's up here?
I really more or less just have a comment that, last year the speed was reduced from 35 to 25 in the neighborhood. Obviously not on the DOT roads. We can't control that. Speed was reduced in an effort to try to slow down the traffic that was making its way around town. So I know that we've made an effort, a continued effort. There's always an effort going to try to be made to slow people down where you can. Is this part of the study? Are they gonna visit? I guess they do an array of things, just seeing where
So the focus areas are listed
on the
on the proposal.
right,
I believe on page 1.
just Broad Street, essentially.
The 300 block of North Broad Street, proximity of the fire station,
The downtown blocks. and
downtown
then-
block north of Depot, south of Depot, and the 100 block of South Broad Street in the proximity of East Church Street.
Does the study extend past Broad Street onto Dunn or Poplar or?
Which is really where the problem areas are, is more the smaller side streets.
Okay?
Yeah, that's what I've experienced. If we don't have any other questions for her, I might let her sit down
You
and
can
take a break.
change the location.
Yeah.
That was just my suggestion.
Yeah.
Sure.
Most of the complaints I receive are people coming off of 55
That's where you're walking people.
down there at the Circle K and then sort of speeding up Broad Street.
Yeah.
And then, we're all aware of the traffic at 5 o'clock on Broad Street. So
Yeah. All right, well, we
If
might discuss a little
we
bit.
don't do the study, is there stuff that we can do ourselves to try to, at
So
a
the
minimal cost to?
So the reason, other than perhaps we could put up stop signs at a few intersections, maybe that we notice there's a lot of traffic or there seems to be a lot of incidents, I wouldn't recommend just going out and putting out speed bumps or speed
Right.
tables without studying it. There's a lot of factors. So maybe some neighbors want speed bumps and some neighbors don't. There's emergency vehicle access. So that is why I'm proposing that we have people who are actually trained to do it and make recommendations. And it's also, so the wider your road is, the faster people go. So narrowing the road, putting in islands, things of that nature can slow people down.
But that's something that we can handle ourselves without spending a lot of money. for it.
I wouldn't recommend it, but the board can direct me to do what they wish.
Sure. I'm going to ask for your opinion, understanding that that's all you're going to give us.
Okay.
But I value it. That was an interesting question. And so I am wondering if you think, personally, given your experience, that we could do things like stop signs without this traffic study for now and potentially reserve the study for when we were ready to invest in traffic calming devices like speed bumps or tables.
I'm only aware really of one or two intersections where we might add stop signs, but certainly we could try that.
Okay.
Definitely the downtown area where people are walking around businesses, crossing the street. Those are dangerous areas. So that's not to say these aren't priority. And honestly, all the streets are, the safety of all the streets is a priority. We have lots of neighbors that walk from their home to downtown and things like that. So I guess I would want a little bit more time to maybe, if only 4 options are allowed based at this price point, maybe we do 2 Broad Street and 2 elsewhere. So if we could maybe give a little input on 2 alternative
Certainly.
areas and maybe just take a little more time to talk about where, I don't know.
That's fine.
If only 4 options are,
Yeah.
Well, that was
It's a tough
just
choice.
start.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
um,
And
I mean,
do
we could
very much-
probably-
somewhere,
we could
and-
probably spend $100,000 and not really know,
That's right.
you know,
Right.
Sure.
not that that's the goal. It's just,
I do very much appreciate you putting this on here. I'm happy to see it. That's what I asked you to do.
That's what we asked. So
Yeah.
I know we've made it
Well,
a priority.
I'm
so.
sure everyone did. I know just that I did because I'm experiencing some of this too. So let me put this out there. An option for tonight is for us to table this and maybe we could discuss right now what we might want to see different. So Elizabeth has some direction if we decide to still kind of pursue this. Or we could approve it as written. It's another option too. But I think if we're considering tabling, let's talk about the area and I guess what our goal would be from it if we do some version of it right now. Thank you. I would say Broad Street, where I live on Broad Street at least is where I could speak specifically to, which is near the post office. And it's very wide there. There's a huge shoulder over there. And people speed on it. But at least where I'm at, it's not so much of a problem as the other secondary streets, such as Dunn Street, Willow Street, which are decidedly neighborhood streets where there are people walking without sidewalks, children playing, and the cars drive very quickly down those streets. I know also Poplar Street, and I mean really that whole corner of the town between 210 and the school, the people that are cutting through and speeding are not looking to do it in broad daylight on Broad Street. They're coming back through the neighborhood. So if we do a study now, we'd need to sit down and kind of focus on those areas where the speeding might have a larger impact.
So I'm gonna go to my side of town.
Okay.
I'm off Williams at where it meets Clibbett Springs, and people come in from Clibbett, take the right on Cross to go over to 210, and Cross Street is a big, like they're moving quick. It gets backed up to make that right turn onto 210, and then alternatively they'll turn up onto from 55 onto Dora and take the dirt road around to Honeycutt to hit Clibbett and go all the way to 210 without really missing a beat. So it's there's not the side streets are great and it's great to be connected, but they are people are moving quick on them when they're making those rounds around. So some of those smaller streets where they're short, fast interchanges, I don't know. That's where I would maybe want to see some thought put into as well.
Yeah. Good. That's why we're all from different wards up here. Do you have any other insights other than what we've talked about?
The side streets, I live on Pleasant Street and people cut through there all the time. I'm not a huge fan of speed bumps personally, but if it's needed, then there needs to be something done. It is a common concern. We hear it from the town a lot. Traffic, kid safety, we hear it. So even tabling it is not us ignoring it. So we would never want that to be interpreted that way. It is important. But we just want to make sure that your money spent is well spent.
I have a question. Like I live in downtown too. Is there any way, like I know, like if we have too many people know about it, everybody would complain. But is there a way for like someone to comment on this? Because like I live in downtown too, and I have seen both of these, and I know exactly why Chevelle's problem is happening. I have a child that goes to Northwest Hernet, and I have a child that goes to North Hernet Primary. And that's the exact path I take. And I see people flying like airplanes. And alternatively, I live right on Broad Street, right where he's talking about. Also, airplanes. So we need to think about where our school paths are when people are taking certain paths. We need to think about my street, for example, is the only dead end between 55 and Broad Street. I have an autistic child that likes to elope. I'm scared he's going to get killed, you know?
Thank you for that, Pam.
Just saying.
I appreciate it. So knowing,
Ask about that?
knowing,
Is there a way to do that after this meeting?
we'll see. For right now, it looks like there's a lot for us to look at. I don't think we're going to decide up here tonight, but
Thinking that. That's all I'm saying.
thank you, Pam.
No, and we're all accessible. We try to make ourselves approachable, and this is why we are sit up here so we can, advocate for the problems that we see and that we hear from our neighbors. So
The easiest way to say to you guys, because I know how to get a hold of you guys, but maybe not everybody else does.
Our phone numbers and emails are on the town website, andrew.org. I know my cell phone number is there, as well as everybody that sits up here. So you don't have to find out where your ward is. If you have an issue, call us and talk to us. We're happy to have those discussions and bring them here where they can be heard and to the town manager and
They
things like
can
that.
call, you could call town hall and they can get a message to me, or I can take your call.
All right.
So my input is, if we do the study now, which I know we're probably gonna table it, I think when the bypass comes in, Calivet Road and all that, it's gonna alleviate a lot of the congestion coming into downtown. I mean, I'm not saying it's not warranted, because it is. It's like the Indy 500 all over the downtown Andrew. But I just think right now, my preferred thing is to table it, find a,
Talk about it.
talk about it. We have to have more roads to look at, that's fine. But $9,000 might not seem a lot to some people, but it is. And you can't put a price on anybody's,
Well, I
life or
think-
whatever. But I don't want to jump in and let's do one, and then, the bypass comes and it kind of alleviates a lot of stuff. I just think we don't need to jump the gun. I think tabling this and really future discussions, maybe at a workshop.
And I think in 4 years, a traffic study we do now would change a lot then anyways, because a lot of homes are going to be erected that are currently planned
I just think we have a lot of traffic coming into the town because we're building, we're expanding, we're doing a lot of projects. And once those are finished,
Figuring out the microphones. We could probably share this.
They're so angry. Hear how loud we are. No, I don't have anything else. I just.
Okay. Well, I'm just kind of reading the board, and what I would suggest is that for tonight, we'll table this, and we'll come together another time to kind of see what we are going to do right now, because I think we all agree something needs to be done right now, and work on figuring out what that is.
And I want to acknowledge that I know PD's been real active in downtown of late, sitting with lights on and things like that, just trying to remind people that this is a community and we're moving about and more than just vehicles. So I want to acknowledge them as well. So I know that everybody's trying to find the right rhythm at this change that we're all going through. So. Is it what?
Yeah, let's.
So mad at me.
We'll share this one. I think it picks us both up. All right, we don't need a motion to table, do we? Okay. All right, so for now, we're going to table this item. And we will move on to item 3, which is Jeff going to talk to us about temporary mobile food vendors. Good evening, Jeff.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. So tonight we're going to talk about food trucks, essentially. Mobile food vendors is how the town classifies these types of uses. Earlier in 2023, the town passed an ordinance in the town code that was regulating mobile food vendors. And so it's been about 14 or 15 months since that has passed, and it's time to see if what we passed as a town is hitting the mark. And so it's a discussion with you all as to what you see as a need for the community and for staff to be able to react to that. What I'm seeing from the ordinance is that as written, it's very limiting as to where food trucks could be. And there's a unintended loophole that has been placed in the ordinance that allows for food trucks to essentially set up shop in one location for 6 months and be able to renew their permit indefinitely. I'm not sure that's what mobile food vendors was intended to be. I think it was supposed to be temporary, as we've sort of, as in the staff report, these are temporary in nature, to be able to come into town, be in town, be at a business, be at a homeowners association for a day or two, and then go elsewhere. But that's not the effect of what the town passed back in '23. And the regulations on the books now limit to where those mobile food vendors can be to commercial, non-residential zone properties. So it excludes any residential property from hosting a food truck. I think that's not the intent of the ordinance and what the town wants. And I don't think the town wanted to be able to have a food truck set up shop and be there permanently. So I would propose that we move forward with a series of amendments to the mobile food vendor section of the temporary code that would limit temporary or limit food trucks to 2 times a week, and they would be allowed in town between the hours of 9 and 11. And if they've already exhausted their 2 times in town, they have to remove that food truck to somewhere else, and that there would be an exclusion for homeowners association events and nonprofits and organizations as such too. So staff will propose those amendments to the planning board next week and then bring those to you all in August for adoption. Is that the direction that I believe we need to go in, or is there anything that I've missed?
Well, first of all, thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
I know that probably all at one point or another come to you or Elizabeth about the unintended consequences. So
Right.
I was in the audience when this ordinance that we have now was passed, and I understand the intention behind it, although in practice we could see that it has caused some problems. But that's the beauty of our ordinance, is that we can revisit it when we find it's not working the way we had hoped it would work, or there were some unintended problems. So thank you for hearing us
Yes.
and recognizing what they are. I, for one, don't know how to fix it, so I'm glad we've got you to help us figure out the simplest way to do that.
I've got some solutions already drafted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you're kind of proposing tonight is that food trucks in general are temporary in nature.
Yes.
And so they would be applying for a temporary mobile food vendor permit
Yes. Yes.
that they could set up in one place specifically, no more than twice a week.
Right.
And would they have to get this permit for each day?
So no, not for each day.
Okay.
So if they wanted to set up, on a Friday night through Saturday, and that would be one permit. What could happen is that a homeowners association or a business that would like to host a series of food trucks over the course of a year or 6 months, as the current ordinance is written, they could pull one permit and say, hey, we're going to have a food truck every Friday night, or the first Saturday of every month, we're going to have a food truck. That permit can then be issued to them, and they wouldn't have to come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my thought, was how do you, keep those that are wanting to do a reoccurring, having to come in once a week, so that,
Yeah.
And how long would that be good for?
Right now, our permits are good for 6 months.
6 months, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, the new one, do it at
New
whatever.
one, we could continue with 6 months. We could go to
Yeah.
a year long permit as well.
I see. I like the purpose of the length of the permit for a location. We've seen some in town that have recurring food trucks.
Right.
But how do we prevent the same food truck from setting up in the same spot for a year with paying just one permit? Or is that even a concern of ours?
Well, no, we wouldn't want.
I mean, they'd have to pack up and move and then come back.
That's right. Yeah. So there could be a permit that's issued to a food truck or a business or a place that allows that one particular food truck to come back weekly on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That could be a result of some amendments that we put forth.
Okay.
But what that food truck would have to do is move, would have to vacate that space and then come back whenever their time is anew.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the permit would be issued to a location
Yes.
and not a specific vendor.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Is it enforceable?
Well, We will do our best to enforce. I know that would be a problem, an issue if a food truck became popular in town
Yeah.
and wanted to be in town more often. I don't know. We'd have to
Yeah.
cross.
And
that
I
bridge.
understand too that enforcing something like this is understandably might be low on a priority list of things that need to be enforced.
Right.
But I want to make sure that whatever we write, we have the power to enforce something.
We would have the power to enforce because when someone applies for a permit, we would know their contact information, all the information to then cite them if they have located in town more than their permit allows for.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know this is going to affect one specific mobile food vendor in town, and so I want to acknowledge that while they've been abiding by the current ordinance, may we allow them an opportunity to know that something like this is going to be changing and have, a little bit more notice than just it's voted. Okay.
Yeah. And on that note, I'll mention that, this, like any other ordinance, would require public hearing before we actually approve anything.
That's right.
So anyone will have an opportunity to kind of weigh in. For now, the purpose of this tonight is for us to give Jeff some direction so that he knows what he needs to be working on.
Right.
Do we need, in your opinion, any wording that speaks to making sure the site is cleaned up or that there's provisions for trash?
We do have that already
Okay.
in our ordinance. So yes, we would make sure that that part of the ordinance stays and is enforced. Additionally, any new ordinance that we move forward with would preclude setting up seating in that location because it's supposed to be temporary, a few hours, you come and you go, seating and anything that would look like it's going to be. Because that, again, if that food truck comes back every Tuesday and Thursday, we don't want them setting up picnic tables and then sliding in beside the picnic tables and those picnic tables staying there all week. So the ordinance that we would propose would be that you cannot set up permanent seating.
Yeah. So some of the thoughts that we're balancing up here, just so everyone knows, I don't think any of us are anti-mobile food vendor. I mean, certainly most of us would welcome some variety and choices to stay in town to eat. I know I certainly would love to see different food trucks come through. I would certainly, I would be there.
Right.
But, we have permanent restaurants here too that we're trying to make sure that they are successful. They're a permanent part of our town. And so kind of trying to look out for them too while we're thinking
through.
through
A distance requirement as it's currently written that you can't be within a certain distance of a restaurant or their outdoor seating area. Yeah.
Okay.
We would keep that.
Now, is it possible to raise the fee also on them, or have we done that in a while, or?
The fee, I think, is $100, so we could look at that again. I know that was recently passed with the budget, but we could look at that.
Yeah, 100 is not bad. We're considering the cost of the permit in relation to the length of time that permit is.
Would the limit to the restaurants be affected by if someone was to rent out the depot area and they wanted to have a food truck come to that? Is there?
That's a great question, and that would probably not be a town-sponsored event. That's just someone renting our facilities, and then the distance from the parking lot, let's say, of the depot to a restaurant would not be great enough for them to have a food truck, right?
So we might consider, if we're able to, and you have to tell me,
Yeah.
if we could provide some kind of exclusion for a mobile food vendor that would serve a private event, maybe? So they're not just setting up in the depot parking lot and selling to everyone?
Yeah, so there can be
Well-
provisions for.
It was not me. I haven't touched it.
We can write in there catering only food trucks where it's not open to the public and it's just there for that event. So I can write that into the ordinance.
Because the only exclusions that apply currently are the ones where the nonprofit is hosting an event in town or the town is hosting an event.
Absolutely.
And that's.
Right.
Okay.
But we can write in that part of the ordinance that speaks to catering a private event that's not open to the public for them to go and, buy food off the food truck.
All right.
Yeah.
So really quick, I'll clarify the difference now. We've brought up catering between catering and a mobile food vendor in the sense that we're discussing tonight. If you were going to have a party at your house, a birthday party, and you brought a food truck in and you were paying that food truck in whole to provide food for your event, that's considered catering.
Right.
Whereas I know that Johnson's Landing sometimes would bring a food truck in on their private property at the pool house, which is zoned residential. It's kind of one of the problems we found with this.
Right.
But then sell to individual people in the neighborhood. So that is clearly a mobile food vendor.
Correct.
So we just want to make sure that we want people to be able to do what they like to do without, I don't know, maybe somebody using it. That might be a strong word, but I think you know what I mean.
Well, I think it's appropriate timing to look at our ordinance and see if we can tweak it to allow for more opportunities.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions for Jeff? Do you have any questions for us now that you are going to?
I think I have my direction.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Next, we have Veronica. We've got Community Development Advisory Board vacancies to deal with.
Hello. So at the last meeting, the board had removed a couple of members from the Community Advisory Board, and we have 4 vacancies, and I received 3 applications. And they are here tonight for their introductory interviews.
Okay. Well, I have the list. Let's see. So before we get started, this is Community Development Advisory Board. What is the current date and time? I can't remember all these. So currently, this board meets on the 4th Monday of every month at 5 o'clock. And where is that one? I think it's in here,
Here,
right?
and then there's also several committees. There's the design committee, the
Yeah.
promotions committee, events committee.
Yeah.
So folks come to the regular meeting, and then there's usually a meeting with that committee during the month, usually during the day.
Okay. And they can work those times out on their own. All right. So the reason I bring that up is because we realize there are a lot of people who want to be involved, and we are thankful that they're involved. But it's important to note that the official meeting on the 4th Monday at 5 o'clock in here is the most important because action cannot be taken at all without a quorum. And we've had some cases recently where we weren't able to get a quorum. So when you guys come up here, I'm going to ask you if you feel like you can commit to the 4th Monday at 5 o'clock. With that, let's start. Pamela Yanez, you're first on our list. If you don't mind, we've got your full application. I won't go through all of it, but tell us some about yourself and why you want to be on this board, and then we might have some questions for you.
I have lived in town since I was 9 years old, so I've watched the town grow. I feel like I would be an excellent member because one of my first jobs was with the Fuquay Independent. I was the receptionist and the classified manager throughout high school. So I've met pretty much all of the business owners that were back in that time, but I've, stayed around, so I know a lot of the local business owners around here. I am a stay-at-home mom, so I can pretty much commit to those fourth Mondays. I have a home business. I work on art. You've bought plenty of art for me. That's pretty much it. I don't know what else to say. I get nervous. You know how I am. I'm shaking.
That's all right. Don't be nervous. We don't just regular people up. So I will say that I have seen you personally at the concert series as a vendor. And you certainly have a lot of ideas. I know you chat with me sometimes about your ideas. I think are really good. And this is the board where you may find some traction with them. So, all right, questions for Ms. Yanez?
Is there any other jobs that you actually do besides your art?
Yes,
Or what
actually-
do you consider art?
So I crochet. I'm actually working on a cardigan for a customer right now. I have a photography business. I also work for a food truck. So the stuff we were talking about today was very relevant. I'm kind of excited to tell my boss some of the rules have changed because we do not vend here based on the rules currently. So that's it. I'm a part-time cashier. I have a photography business. I do art. I do any kind of art you can think of. I went to Meredith College for art, so if you have an idea, I can make it.
What kind of photography?
Anything you can think of. I've been in the burlesque field, so I have done more risque stuff. I know that's what you're looking for, so let's just be honest.
I'll be honest.
But I do
because
have
it was
small
brought-
children,
It was
and
brought to
they
my
got
attention.
here somehow.
It was
So,
brought to my attention that you have adult entertainment business.
have you ever
that you-
seen any of my
Ma'am,
photography?
I am just
answering
trying-
your questions.
You don't need to be hostile. I'm just asking the question.
I am not being
Because if you're
hostile.
going to represent our town at these meetings, I think we need to be transparent.
I am being transparent. I was involved with the Raleigh burlesque community for 16 years.
Thank you. Thank
I'm
you.
also a state fair award winner. I've done many other things. I'm a multifaceted person. We all make people. You've made a few, I think. So I don't see what the problem is here.
I just wanted to be on record. Thank you.
I think it's important that we have people that represent our community as a whole, because after all, it is the Community Development Advisory Board. So while I may not dabble in those things, I can appreciate that we all have different perspectives.
I'm a costume designer. That's usually what I do.
I think it's also important to note that it's a team effort, that everybody on that committee is really committed to being an advocate for the town of Anger, and I know you are. And so I think it just is important to point out that, you know, it's a team effort, that everybody's there for the same reason, and that's to showcase how great Anger is. So I just want to acknowledge that.
To respond to that, the main reason I am applying is because I have small children that I do care about. And I do have exactly what you're talking about. So eventually they may find out. These are things I've had to deal with in my personal life. My family knows about what I do in my life. I do not have to be behind closed doors. I am an open person. I am an open book. So my hostility is excitement to talk about my life. If you take it as hostility, that is a you problem.
It's always been a problem with you.
I'm not
thank
the
you,
one
and I
being
respect
hostile.
your comment.
But thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for Ms. Yanez? Thank you very much for applying. We certainly appreciate anyone who's willing to step up here and volunteer their services to.
Good luck to everybody else applying. We've got some tough critics.
All right. So we're going to interview everyone, and then we'll go to appointments after that. Next on the list is Nigel Prasad. Thank you for joining us today. If you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
My name is Nigel Prasad. I hold a bachelor's degree from North Carolina Central University in entrepreneurship. I've been staying in Anger for a little more than 8 months now, but I love the town. It reminds me of my hometown in Coleraine, North Carolina, very small town. My strengths, I have strengths in strategic planning, customer service, and emotional intelligence. And bottom line is, I just like to get things done.
So I'm going to start because I was reading your application and all the, NA. And so I get down to your expansive resume and I'm like, oh my gosh, what can he not do? So I just want to say, you have been doing some things. You have been busy.
Yeah, I just like getting things done. I like to stay busy.
Yeah, it is. It is funny because your application is very much empty, and then we have 3 pages.
Yeah, I haven't applied for something in a long time.
That's all right. That's 3 pages of experience with municipal event planning. There's some federal government stuff on here.
Can I ask how you heard about this position? Was it on Facebook or did you you have a neighbor or something that told you?
I like to stay pretty active. I love reading, so I just follow the Facebook page. Frequently look at the website, so I'm like, saw some financial management stuff. Like I love financial management. I'm a budgeteer. So I was actually going to apply for that position, but I was like, I got a son on the way, so I'm not trying to overextend myself.
Okay.
And I'll just point out, I did the math. You are 25.
Yes.
Okay. You make me feel really old. Because I think my resume would be like half a page. All right. So did we miss anything that you feel is important on this resume? 'Cause I'll just be honest, I just kind of read through the important parts.
It's so
it's
much
a lot
stuff
on here.
up there. It's like I do better when you guys ask me questions because a lot of the stuff I did. So I've been doing stuff forever. Like I'm a serial entrepreneur. I think I told you.
Mhm.
Like I just I have a lot of ideas. I just like executing. I think one of the most notable things I did, which is pretty dear to me. So my home was destroyed by a tornado while I was in 7th grade in Coleraine, North Carolina. But most recently, I think in 2020, a tornado hit back home again, and we swiftly, with Bert T. Strong, we swiftly raised a little over $2,000 just to give back to the tornado victims, just because it was dear to me.
Mm-hmm.
And again, during COVID, mask shortage, so my wife and I, we just pulled out the sewing machine and just sewed. I don't know how many masks, but we just gave it back to the Durham County government.
The community service.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
you
a
in a nutshell.
public servant at heart, so I
Okay.
just love giving back to people. And
Get him involved.
Yeah, thank you for being
right.
here.
So in full transparency, I will say, and this happens quite often, is Mr. Prasad reached out to me about a week ago to talk to me about this board, to see if I thought he should apply for it. And I tell everybody on this board especially that, there's not a prerequisite to be qualified for this board other than people who care and who will volunteer their very precious time for a position on a board that is arguably at times it's hard work sometimes. And so I did meet with Mr. Prasad last week, and after speaking to him and encouraging him either way, that if he was interested in this, he should apply. And then I heard about all this stuff on his resume, and then I was like, I'm going to check on Friday and make sure you turn this application in. So if there's nothing else for him, we'll let the man sit down. Thank you.
thank you.
All right. Third, but certainly not least here. Hold on, I'm scrolling up. I don't want to get your name wrong. Nakia Granger. I went by memory because I couldn't find it on my thing. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, sure.
If you don't mind telling us some about yourself.
Yeah, hi. My name's Nakia Granger. I've moved here in 2021. Not been here long, but it is with great love that I love my community. My application said that I was a librarian for 5 years. I worked in a public library in the state of Ohio. It was a historical library, and I wish I would have attached my statistics to show my community involvement. Something that I'm very proud of is I founded the youth department in the library that I worked at. We saw from 2017 from 2019, I had 475 teenagers doing community involvement from the library and in their schools, in the environment where they lived in. Little libraries popped up, park cleanups happened just within friend groups. It wasn't even orchestrated by me. And something that I learned with being a librarian and being a teacher, I love seeing the youth involve themselves in the community, because without the youth involvement, the community, in my opinion, is not going to continue to grow. So in something else that I'm very proud of, I'm a mom. My boys are here, my biggest fans, and my husband is also here, my biggest fan. And I'm also a small vendor. I'm a small business owner. I make candles, wax melts, cozy things. And something that has also recently fallen on my plate is I am now a co-event coordinator for the town of Raleigh for it is called Geek and Grub Market. It is a nerd-based place where you can find all things nerdy of vendors, crafters, and food trucks alike. So I have ties all throughout the Triangle, not only through the organization that I do, but I also am very close with people in Fayetteville that run events, and also in the city of Raleigh with the City of Museums also. So I'm really, really into getting people involved in the community, whether that's through Parks and Rec. I know I talked to Mayor Bob about the duck problems. I am a nature advocate. I was a nature instructor for 8 years, and it hurts my soul to see the treatment of wildlife, especially in local communities. So I've been taking it upon myself of I always have appropriate duck food for the ducks in the town, and I never encourage them to go towards the parking lots, but stay in their natural habitats. And I want to see the community to continue those, so that way it doesn't become a problem that I believe Pam's mother has the ducks almost coming into her home. They live there now. So I have a lot of ideas that I want to be able to implement from small business involvements outside of the chamber, because some small businesses cannot afford a chamber licensure or a partnership with them. And it doesn't need to be just chamber businesses. It needs to be small people like me, Pam, my other friend Laura, who's also here, is also an artist, a muralist, also very talented. There's just a lot of things that people don't really see because it's not loud enough. And I want to be able to be that annoying, loud voice for those people.
All right. Can you commit to the fourth Monday at 5 o'clock?
1,000%.
Okay. So, yes, you're another one I spoke to at probably every time there was a concert series.
Yeah, I was at every single concert series that I could possibly go to. I'm even going to, I believe Chrissy talked about the car show in August, and I'm also planning on being at that. And I'm at the Crepe Myrtle Festival in September as well. So.
And then the first time I saw you guys, not a great experience, because I had thrown my back out.
Yes.
And I was hobbling out of Napper Candies. And you did not get the reaction you deserved from me then, so I apologize for that. But yeah, if you are in this town and you have ideas and you come to me, I'm going to encourage you to join this board when it's available to do it. So I did speak to you, and I did speak to Pam too, and encouraged her to apply. It's really encouraging to see people who care step up for this. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Granger? I think you explained yourself too well.
Yeah, well, it comes with being a public service employee for 5 years.
All right. If we're speechless, you did a good job.
All right, good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we have 4 seats and 3 applicants. One of you guys will have to nominate someone, and then we will take a vote on that person. So without any further ado, bring them at me. Somebody nominate.
I'd like to nominate Nigel.
All right. All those in favor of Nigel Prasad on the Community Development Board, please raise your right hand.
Sorry, I was
Unanimous.
early. Unanimous. Yeah, y'all were early.
All right. Any others?
I make a motion we approve Nakia Granger to the Community Development Advisory Board.
Okay. All those in favor of Ms. Nakia Granger for Community Development Advisory Board, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Any others?
Should I just sell my house and move you? Do it. Pay it off in 10 years.
All right, with no further motions, then we will move forward with those 2 right now. All right, next on our agenda is manager's report. Is there anything you'd like to speak at the podium about?
Staff has created an infrastructure update tool. It has not been posted to the website yet. We were very busy with getting the budget uploaded last week, and so unfortunately that has not been done, but it should be done by the end of this week. So you can see the project. So if it's the sidewalk, if it's water tank, 50% completion means it has been designed and engineered. And so more than 50% means it has moved into the construction phase. And so that is explained on the tool. And I want to thank Faith for making that. She did a really great job.
Mm-hmm.
And she is leaving us Friday.
Ah,
Yeah, her her time as a fellow is coming to an end, and so she has done a lot of really good work for us, and just want to really thank her and appreciate her for everything she's done.
Is she going to come back to work for us?
and she was recently accepted to which school was it?
Carolina.
Well, okay, you know.
Congratulations.
So, thank you, Faith, for what you've done so far, and we hope that when you're finished with college, you consider checking us out.
She's
See
going
if
to law
we're-
school.
Okay, well, Dan, you know, we'll see. We'll see. Well, thank you, Faith.
We must have ran her out of finance.
It's not the job for me.
She likes finance.
Does she?
She likes to research, and there's a lot of research in the law, right, Dan?
If we ran her off into law, then I don't know. Somebody's got to do it.
So one of our other major projects, the construction of the police department, Davenport is working on the financial feasibility report that's required for USDA financing. It's evaluating past and present revenue growth, as well as our tax base and how our expenditures increase over time. Staff took tours of several local police stations. We visited Holly Springs, Apex, and the Emergency Operations Center in Harnett County. We were with our general contractor as well as the representative from the architecture firm, so that we could sort of see in real life what these rooms look like, what types of spaces we are going to need. And so we completed that on Friday. The core water line replacement, which is replacement of the oldest lines in mostly in downtown. The engineering team at MBD estimates the surveying and design phase is 75% complete. Their intent is to have the bid and design package submitted to Division of Water Infrastructure. Water Infrastructure has to give us the go-ahead before we can submit that package for contractors to bid on. So we're hoping to get that project moving a little bit more quickly. As far as our new park, the survey of the property for the roadways completed. As an update to what you have before you, Jimmy and Derek are meeting with the property owners tomorrow to have them sign the plat. And then we will take it to Will Pope and we'll get the real estate documents and everything rolling.
And then is it officially ours?
Yes.
Okay. Government moves so slow. It's not your fault. I'm making an observation. All right, so not to gloss over, because what she said about the project status tracker.
Yes.
Thank you again, Faith. Because when you sent that to me, I mean, I showed it to a dozen people so far on my phone. Like, look at this. If you're asking how this is going. So I'm very glad that that's been developed. And I'm sure when it hits the website that we'll all promote it as much as we can, because we want everyone to know. Well, there's probably a dozen projects on that list that we've got going on right now. Some of them just starting, some of them nearing completion.
And we are always working, but as you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's there's permits, there's state agencies that have to review and sign off. So it's not as simple as just going out alongside the road and throwing down a sidewalk. There's a lot of steps that come before actual construction.
Yeah. And it was interesting to note that you said the 50% mark is when the red tape is through, which is true. You know, most of these projects is just all the work that happens before the actual project
But no
happens,
one sees.
so.
But there is
Nobody
work
sees it.
going on all these projects. And I'm sorry, I did not ask you all if you had any questions.
I don't know. We're never afraid to ask. Well, thank you and staff for working on those projects.
You're welcome.
Even though nobody sees it, we see it. Is there any town staff that would like to add? Derek? Lee? Nothing? All right. The only thing I'm going to say tonight, I'm going to speak about the town podcast. We've released podcast video series. We've released 2 so far already. One that I did with Derek and Austin, and one that was just released yesterday with Elizabeth and Chrissy. If you hadn't had a chance to watch them, I suggest you do. Try to find some time. They're not designed to be entertainment, so if you're looking for entertainment, you're probably not going to find it there. But you'll find a lot of information that even I didn't know until we started going down this path. And it's just entertaining enough to captivate you. The goal, I think. We're recording a couple more of them coming up. I'm recording one with Jimmy next that will be released in a couple of weeks, but we encourage you to go check that out. Do any of you guys have anything to report? Okay. George Miser spoke early on that National Night Out had been moved, and I'm sure we will try to broadcast that as much as we can too on social media.
I was just going to say the podcast, you can see them on the town's Facebook page, and then you can also find them on YouTube under Town of Angier.
Thank you. All right. There doesn't look like there's any more reports. So with that, we'll entertain a motion to go into closed session tonight.
I'll make a motion we go into closed session to discuss personnel as well as consult our attorney, referencing the case from the appeal from the Board of Adjustment from Alden Park Townhomes or Homes.
All right. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. With that, I will close our session tonight. We'll give you guys a couple of minutes to clear on out of here, and then we'll reconvene.